What is the proper way to set up the Monitor Key software? My name is Matt Zinn, and that's what I'm going to walk you through in this video. So you have an ATC cabinet. You want to figure out how to program your monitor key. That's the number one question we get. How do you program your monitor key for an ATC cabinet? So we'll walk you through some easy steps here. We're not going to do a complete work through because every intersection is a little bit different. But what we do want to walk you through is the basics of setting it up, what you need to program, what you're looking for, and then making sure that it's done correctly. Another big question we get is, do we have to program everything? It's important to go through each of the pages to make sure you're programming what you need to program. There are some things you may not need to program, but please look at every page and make sure that you are setting all the settings necessary to make sure the intersection is safe as possible. So let's get started with this. The first thing we want to do is we want to make sure you have one of these devices. This is the monitor key programming device. Once it is set up in your laptop, it'll always be there. We want to go ahead and first of all connect to it. The way we connect to it is we set up our ports. We look at our ports, figure out which serial port it's talking on, make sure that it's done. You can do a search. It will bring back the port number that the monitor key is programmed for. Once that's done, make sure that it has the right connection and you're good to go. The next thing you want to do is make sure, if you don't have the software, you go to Monitor Key Programming Tool on EDI's website, go down to their software download and download the software. That way you'll have the software when it's ready. Okay, so we're back on the EDI Monitor Key software. Once you've connected to the device and you connect the key, the first thing you want to do is run through a wizard. There are two wizards. There's the parameter setup and a parameter check. First step is to set up the parameters. This will walk you through setting up the monitor key for most of the things you need to set up for. It'll ask you 5 basic questions. Once you've answered the questions, it will tell you you're ready to go. This not being one of the questions. This is a disclaimer. Click on that. You're asked first, which channels are you going to use in the controller? For those channels you're not using, you just simply turn them off. And we're only going to have a 16-channel ATC cabinet, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off the other channels that we're not going to use. So now we've checked the channels that we're going to use. We're also going to tell the monitor key whether we're going to use flashing yellow arrows. And in this instance, to be a little bit more simple, we're going to just not check those. So we're not going to enable any flashing yellow arrows. Then it's going to ask us where our PEDs are. In an ATC cabinet, that's either going to be 9 through 12 or 13 through 16. We're going to call this 13 through 16. And go to the next question. If we have 2 section heads, the left turn, the protected permissive left turn, 2 section heads, do we have any of those? Most likely not. Those are the questions it's asked. Once we've done that, we hit finish and we confirm that that's what we're going to do. It'll also tell us all the different things that we still need to enter. Now that we've done the wizard, all the forms that we need to program show up on our desktop. So the first thing it'll do is review the channels that we're going to be using. And yes, we're only going to use 16 channels. It'll ask us if we want to change the minimum flash rate. I always recommend setting the flash rate to 16 seconds. Most controllers take 10 to 12 seconds to start up. So put it to 16 and you're good to go. Also has additional information to set up your IP address, your subnet mask, even give it a name if you'd like to. But once that's done, we always save our key to a form. It puts it in a buffer. That way, later, once we save it, it saves everything that we've put into the buffer into the key. Nothing's saved in the key until we've saved the buffer. Now we have to do our permissives. In a normal intersection, we do 5, 6, and 11. 5, 6, 11, and 13. Sorry, it's 13, 11. And then 7 and 8. And we go through the permissives and set all the permissives up. This is the one thing that EDI and ourselves will not do. This is a liability issue, so it's up to the agency to set these as appropriate. But once you've done that and you go through the whole list, Again, you'll save that to a buffer, and I didn't do them all. We're going to go through this a little bit more simply. If you had channels 17 through 32, you also have to set up those permissives in order to make sure that those permissives are set correctly. Now, our next page is lack of signal. In the ATC cabinet, we monitor for lack of signal. Which channels do we want to select to look for if a channel goes red or does not have a red that we would go into flash? Since we are not selecting channels 9, 10, 11, 12 to use, we'll deselect those. But everything else, because it has a wire connected to it, a red wire connected to it, we're going to use those in part of the selection for which channels we are going to use. All right. The next thing we will want to set up is our green, yellow, yellow, red, and green, red dual indications. That means when if a green and a yellow come up together, or a green and a red come up together, or a yellow and a red come up together, do we want to put the intersection into flash? And in most cases, in this controller, in this cabinet, green and red and green and yellow can come up together on our PEDs. So we deselect for the PEDs for those, but everything else will get a check mark. In the green red, everything is checked because we don't expect a green and red on our PEDs. So we select all of those. Save it to the form and close it. Minimum yellow change disable is the MUTCD minimum 3-second yellow clearance interval. And we want to check for that on everything but our PEDs. All right, so we'll select all those. And also we do a minimum yellow plus red, and that makes sure that we have at least 3 seconds of clearance between two conflicting phases. And for that, we can also select our PEDs. So we've selected our PEDs here. Next, because the ATC also monitors current, we want to make sure that all the channels that we're using will also be selected to monitor current. And you can see that on all of the channels, we're monitoring for 20 milliamps of current. That makes sure that if a red fails, we will notice that there's no more current on that channel and put the intersection in a flash. So this is the safety feature of the ATC cabinet. More than anything else, we do flash on a red fail. So we'll again save that to our buffer, and you'll notice that the wizard, when we started up the wizard, actually has configured most of the stuff for us. It will not configure the permissives, and it will not configure a couple of other things, but for the most part, it monitors and checks about 80% of everything. So please use the wizard to start off with. It makes programming the data key a lot easier. Next thing we're going to do is field check. This is another safety feature of the ATC cabinet. Field check makes sure that whatever the controller is saying is supposed to be on is on in the field. And the monitor looks at this and makes sure that that's happening. If a red is supposed to be on in phase 2, there's no red on in phase 2, that's a field check. So we want to make sure that any wire that's wired up to the back of the cabinet, if there's a wire there, there should be a check box. Save it again to the buffer, close it. If we want to disable any of the yellows for any reason, maybe we're using a yellow output for an overlap, or maybe a blank out sign or something that doesn't need to be monitored, we can come in here and select which yellows we don't want to monitor. Also, we have the opportunity in an ATC cabinet to run virtual channels. So any input or any output can be used as a channel, and we can establish red, yellows, and greens from multiple different channels and make that a channel in itself. So we're not doing that for this. If you want more information on this, please let us know. We can walk you through virtual channels. And then the last thing that's going to be here is our flashing yellow arrows, just to confirm whether or not we're going to use those or not. And we disabled them in the wizard, so they're also disabled here. We save and close. The next step is we're going to select the parameter check wizard. We select the parameter check wizard, and it gives us two indications, a warning and an error. A warning, if there's a number there, it says we have something that's not programmed that is expected to be programmed, but isn't a dangerous situation. It just gives us a warning that we've done something that it's not expecting. If there's an error, that means that there is something that is safety related, and you'll have to go back and make sure that that's fixed. And then there will be a list of things down here on what the problems are. So once you've set that up and you get zeros and zeros, you are done. Now we've saved everything to the buffer, but we need to save it to a file. So now we come up here and we select save key to a file, gives us a location. We put in a name, call it test, and save it. And then it's saved, but it's still not on the key. It's a file now. So now we have to write to the data key. We come up here and we write to the data key. Takes a second. Data key is written completely. I always like to go back to the data key and verify that the data key was programmed correctly. Now we do a checksum between what is in the file and what is on the data key. If the data key is the same as the buffer, I know I've saved everything properly. Okay? Now I can take that data key, pull it out of the data key. We've programmed it. We're going to put it in the cabinet now. It basically goes into the CMU. It's turned 90 degrees. Once it's turned 90 degrees, it is now accepted into the CMU, and now it's operational, and that is your data key programming. Everything is on that data key that is needed. So the intersection should be running without any flash. If it goes into flash, you can go and look to see what the differences are or the problems are and go back to programming it. But we did it the first time correctly. So that's setting up the data key. If you have any questions, please let us know. Thanks for watching this video. Stay tuned for more videos like this in the future as we address some of your frequently asked questions. To learn more, or if you have any other questions, please visit the Swarco McCain website.